It's the Lakes area's most wanted. We are cleaning up the criminals in our area and need your help. Have you seen any of these people?
Lee Robert Johnson, age 67. He's 5 feet 10 inches tall, 170 pounds with blue eyes. He's wanted for theft by issue of a worthless check. Tyler Dean Herc, age 19. He's 5 feet 7 inches tall, 115 pounds with green eyes and brown hair. He's wanted for receiving stolen property. Shannon K. Casey. She's 5 feet 7 inches tall, 120 pounds. She's wanted for issuing worthless checks. Rosalind Loretta King. She's 5 feet 4 inches tall, 160 pounds. She's wanted for third-degree DWI. George Adrian, age 51. He's 6 feet 4 inches tall, 200 pounds. He's wanted for issuing worthless checks. Christopher Lee Hansen, age 36. He's 5 feet 9 inches tall, 200 pounds with green eyes. He's wanted on 2 warrants for 5th-degree controlled substance. Amanda May Keel. She's 5 feet tall, 120 pounds. She's wanted for misdemeanor shoplifting. Dean Allen Thomas, age 38. He's 5 feet 11 inches tall, 160 pounds with green eyes and brown hair. He's wanted for DWI and theft by issue of a worthless check. Kristen Ray Maypenny, age 29. She's 5 feet 3 inches tall, 140 pounds with brown eyes and brown hair. She's wanted for possession of marijuana, obstructing the legal process, fleeing an officer, and giving a false name.
The Lakes area's most wanted. We're cleaning up the streets. Remember, if you see any of these people, do not approach them. Call your local law enforcement office. And now, a word from our area law enforcement.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Tim Eggebraaten with the Detroit Lakes Police Department. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how a complaint comes into the police department and kind of the life of the complaint and where it goes before it goes to the prosecuting attorneys. And to start out, when a person calls into the police department, something has happened, whether it's an assault or a vehicle unlock or a dead squirrel on the road. People call in. We typically handle about 11,000 calls for service a year. And when a person calls in a criminal complaint where they've been a victim of something or they feel like they've been a victim, they'll call our office. Our initial officer will go to the scene and try to determine what happened by talking to witnesses, talking to the victim, talking to any potential suspects involved, and basically on a fact-finding mission. And if the incident happened recently, where the complainant is calling in pretty recently, there may be physical evidence to collect, there may be some eyewitnesses. So whatever it is, our officer goes out there to try to put a good picture together of what exactly happened. Because we all know that if we talk to 2 people about anything, we're going to get 2 different versions of what happened. There's always at least 2 sides to the story. So the initial complaint will come in where somebody feels like they've been a victim of theft or assault or anything. And our officer goes there, collects the initial information, and they will gather that information, come back to the police department. It may go to investigations for some further follow-up, or it may go to another officer with the expertise in that area. And so basically the officers put the package together, the reports, everything together, and they consult with the prosecuting attorney. And the prosecuting attorney will be either from the City of Detroit Lakes, Karen Squales is our criminal prosecutor for the city, or it could go to the Becker County Attorney's Office for prosecution. And depending on the crime and depending on the severity will depend on which attorney gets the case. And so we'll work it over with the attorneys and determine if, first of all, if a crime has been committed or if there's enough information to successfully prosecute that crime. So the prosecuting attorneys then will determine if a crime has been committed and if there's enough evidence to get a successful guilty plea or a guilty verdict on this individual and get some disposition, some resolution to the case. What can be frustrating for the victims at times is the speed of the process. Sometimes it seems real slow. Sometimes the victims feel like nobody's listening to them, and why isn't this guy getting charged with something? And what happens is there's kind of a fine line sometimes between a criminal complaint and a civil complaint, and you'll hear officers say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you, that's a civil complaint." As police officers, we work with the criminal end of it, and if it's a civil end where you have a lawsuit pending or something like that, or a divorce proceeding or something, those can be handled through attorneys and the court systems. So basically what we're looking for is to package everything together, and we do our best to try to get all the information possible. We don't always have cooperative witnesses, we don't always have cooperative victims, and we don't always have cooperative suspects. And so we package everything together and discuss it with the attorneys and hopefully get a good package, good enough to go to court with it and get some kind of successful resolution for it. And we try to keep the victims involved as much as possible. What I'd recommend to people, if they feel like they've been a victim of a crime, keep in contact with the police department. If you get an officer that has called you, write down that officer's name and get a contact phone number for that officer and stay in contact with them. You're not bothering us by contacting us and asking the status of your case. Worst case scenario, we'll tell you that it's going to be another month before we hear back from the lab, or it's being discussed right now with the attorneys or whatever. But if you keep in contact with us, it's a good way for us to keep in contact with you. So until next time, thank you for your time and be safe out there.
Thank you for watching the Lakes Area's Most Wanted.